Our group has recently spent a lot of time in Vietnam and got to know that market very well. And Vietnam is really an interesting market. In some ways, Vietnam may be too premature. It's at least 10 years behind China in terms of development. And one of the things about Vietnam which hinders development is a lack of real estate. There's a lot of laws which prohibit multi-unit development. So when you get out of Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi, there's not really a lot of malls being developed. And so there is kind of a natural barrier to multi-chain growth simply because of that. There is a fast growth of hypermarts. Thai concepts like Big C and some French hypermart chains are going into Vietnam in a bigger way. So if the concept is lower price, like if it's a fast food concept or an inexpensive full-service restaurant, then growing via the hypermart route, also makes sense. Over the last 5 years, Vietnam has been one of the top 4 fastest growing food service markets in Asia. The growth has been over 12% a year. But the economy's gotten in trouble the last couple of years. F&B is slowing, but it may slow down to 6 or 7%, but it's not slowing all that rapidly. And when you talk to the beverage companies like Coke or Tiger Beer, their business continues to grow at double digits. KFC has been in the market for many years, doing very well. Loteria, which started many years ago from Korea, it's a hamburger chain, is doing very well. So those chains have come in early and have grown rapidly. Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf has been in the market and is up to about 15 stores. Starbucks recently entered the market last year and only has a few stores and is just getting started. The interesting thing about the coffee market is, as many of you may know, Vietnam is a very unique coffee market. The Vietnamese like this kind of very strong, sweet coffee with condensed milk. And there's some question about whether Starbucks, which just entered, as well as Coffee Bean and other global coffee players, will really be able to be successful in Vietnam simply because of the unique coffee business. There's also very large coffee chains in Vietnam, such as Highland Coffee, Trong Nun Coffee with over 1,000 locations. So, it's a pretty buoyant coffee market with a lot of local Vietnamese-style coffee chains pervading. The other interesting thing about Vietnam is the urbanization rate is the lowest in Asia. And there is growing urbanization, but Vietnam is still very much a rural country compared to, let's say, Indonesia or the Philippines. The tier 2 or tier 3 cities, they are growing, but they're not as robust markets for restaurants as they are in other markets in Southeast Asia. The other thing I'd point out is there are quite a few very well-run local restaurant chains. We've done work for some of them. There's a chain, for example, called Golden Gate Group, which has 3 or 4 different concepts: Japanese, Chinese hot pot, Korean. Has over 60 restaurants, very well operated, entrepreneurial, doing very well. A Hong Kong group of entrepreneurs started a chain called Alfrescos, which is kind of an inexpensive Italian concept, a little bit like Pizza Hut. They've done very, very well. And there's more fast food concepts coming out. So the Vietnam market does have local entrepreneurs. They're growing. Not surprisingly, Korean brands have started to enter the market in a big way. And again, the CJs and the SPCs of this world that I mentioned earlier are developing their Korean-style bakery concepts, Tous les Jours and Paris Baguette in Vietnam. So that's actually becoming an interesting concept. One of the big challenges to overseas partners is the lack of them. So if you're an overseas company and you're looking for a partner in Vietnam, you're going to find out that there are very, very few companies that are interested in being your partner. There's a shortage of experienced partners that could be your master franchisee or your joint venture partner. So it's going to be harder for overseas companies to get in the Vietnam market. And there may be a period of time that overseas companies may have to wait. And the final point I'd mention about Vietnam, other than that it's 10 years behind China, that it's slowing but still has high potential, very unique coffee culture, loving Japanese and Korean food. Final point is affordability. It is a low disposable income market. So pretty much if your fast food concept is over $2 or $3, and if your full service restaurant concept is over $5 or $6, it's probably not scalable.